bold, so it's a softer lead and it'll be darker colored. H I associate with hard, it's a harder lead, so it'll be a lighter marking pencil, and it's on the base of the pencils here. See on the back of the pencils here, the H and the B? Yeah, see each one of them.
all right.
So see, I didn't know about that when I was growing up. I didn't know about this till. See, they all have.
They have a number.
They have different. See, the B would be for bold. So a 12B is going to be a very dark pencil.
Don't have them over here.
And it takes a little bit of getting used to playing around with them to kind of learn the properties of the different hardnesses and stuff. I hadn't even looked at these that close. I've never seen a 12B pencil, so that's impressive. But it's kind of like if you were working on a car or whatever it might be, and you had different tools in your toolbox. You want to use the right tool for the right job instead of trying to use a wrench as a hammer. So same basic principle is if you want to make a very dark area, you don't want to use a really light pencil, or like the number 2 pencils we're used to at school, because it's not going to make a very dark mark. So you kind of have to play with them a little bit and find which ones, how dark they would be, and then you can utilize that. And we'll go over it a little bit more in depth. Like I said, I was telling someone earlier, today's class I'm going to go over the basics on how this system with the squares works, and then we're going to have a lot of studio time where we're just actually working on the project, and then that'll allow me to then kind of go around and I'll walk in amongst you, and kind of anybody who has any questions or needs a little help and stuff, I'm going to kind of float around today more than I did last time. It'll be less of me up here yapping and more drawing. So now that we got our pencils out, one thing we ran into last time that was a little tricky is when everybody was done with the projects, anybody who didn't take them with them, we were trying to figure out which ones belonged to whom. So if you would, on the drawing paper that you have there that will look like this, it has the squares written on it. If you wouldn't mind, flip that over and write your name on the back of it, and that way we can tell whose is whose. You always want to sign your work and stuff. And I remember my mom and everybody telling me that when I was growing up. I was bad about doing that. I never did sign my work, and then finally I got in the habit of doing that. So that will just help us keep track of everything a little better. Oh. And I'm terrible with names. If I look at you funny later and they're like, go talk to so-and-so, it's because I don't remember it. I remember faces well, but I'm bad with names, so you'll have to forgive me on that one.
He takes after his aunt.
Yes.
So, how do you know, which one's dark and which one's...
So
They don't have, it doesn't have the light ones in
let me grab you a scratch piece of paper real quick, and that way, I should have thought to do that, since this is kind of new with the pencils. Let me take
You want me
a
to go
piece
get
of
some
paper.
papers?
I've got one right here. I'll just tear this one up into smaller pieces. That way everybody can kind of experiment with it a little bit before they actually go marking the small things. Give everyone a little piece of scratch paper. So what I would do on this, each pencil that you are curious about how dark it is, I would just write down, like on this 2B here. I would write 2B. And then you don't want to press real hard or anything, just comfortably. Maybe darken that in, and then if you want to see what the this 12B right here, that's really dark. So I'd write 12B. And again, same amount of pressure. And you can see that, how that's more of a gray color than that one is.
Yeah.
And sometimes in the light, the graphite reflection's hard, but we'll do that, and that way everybody can kind of play around with their pencils a little bit, and it'll make it easier to figure that out. Because when you're not used to it, it does take a little bit of time to kind of...
The higher the number, the more bold it is, more dark.
Yeah, kind of like a number scale, how you have a 0 in the middle, it goes both directions. So on the H side, the higher the number, the harder the lead, and the lighter it will draw. And then on the bold side, same thing, the higher the number, the more bold it'll get. Some scratch paper here. And I'll show you guys real quick since I'm just showing them. That way you've got an actual visual. Let's steal one of your pencils. Let's go with, where is that, 12B, okay. So see the 12B here, that would be the bold, the darkest one there is. So if you want to test them out, I would write 12B on the back of the pencil there. And then you don't have to push real hard. Just kind of go in there and color that in a little bit. And you can see how dark that is. And then if we wanted to see what this 4H pencil is right there, you write 4H. And you'll notice a huge difference if I push the same amount as what I pushed with the 12B. See how different that is? So that's what I was talking about. Instead of needing to bear down really hard if you want to make something darker, just use it more of using the right tool for the right job. That was a 4H and a 12B. So those are the two extreme ranges on this pencil scale. And so that way you can kind of play around with them a little bit and test them out, kind of feel it before we actually start marking on the page, and that way it doesn't catch you off guard. Because I've had before where I'll take a dark pencil when I first learned how to use them, and I start to do something else, oh crap, that's way too dark, and then I try to erase it, and I couldn't get it erased because it was too dark. So. Okay. Does anybody have any questions so far about any of this? I mean, I might be going too fast or talking too
I
quick.
never know enough to ask.
Well, that's all right.
That's what we're here for.
Yeah, I would experiment with them for just a second. Oh, this is the one I had. This is the other tool, this tortillion. Most of you probably remember from last time. This is just basically really tightly rolled paper. It's really tightly rolled paper. And so this is a blending stump, or a tortillion, sometimes they'll call them, where you can go in there and you can actually, after you put down material on the page with your pencil or your charcoal, you can use this to blend and shade and fade things out. And once it builds up some material in that paper, you can actually even draw with this, because it'll transfer that onto the page. So it's kind of an interesting tool, but like, I'll show you since I'm over here. Like on your, this dark 12B here.
So you use this little white pencil?
It's not really.
The pencils or the charcoal?
They don't look the same to me.
I'll show you here in just a second. See this? How I can blend that? And all it is just tightly rolled up paper. But see, then once I get some material on there, I can even use that to come in and put lighter marks if I wanted to. And you can do all kinds of neat effects with that, see? Just by picking up a little bit of material. And then I'll try to keep one side kind of clean and the other side kind of dark. And that way I've got some stuff to kind of play around with. They're a pretty neat little tool. I'll show you what I was talking about. This is nice having a small class because I can kind of wander around and show you. I'm going to do a dark one. So on this 12B here. Laying some material there. And then this thing is just literally rolled paper. See how that smooths that out, blends? No, I can just grab a little bit of material and blend that out, and then see if it's left on there, so you can even use this then to make lighter marks with whatever's left on it. It'll eventually run out of material on there because, you know, it's marked on the page, but you can get all kinds of neat effects, and you can lay it completely on its side, so you can do a really large area if you need to. Or you can get up on the tip and do little fine things. And like on this style where it's rolled paper, they will actually peel that paper off if it gets too blunt, and that way it'll resharpen itself. Then they have others that are more like sawdust or paper dust that kind of compacted together. They're really a lot harder than those, and they'll have a slightly different effect, but kind of like a chamois. The texture of it will be like it grab that stuff really good. I'm going to take another swig of coffee. I'm running out of spit. All right. So I think that pretty much covered all the tools. And feel free to continue messing around with that scratch paper and kind of learning your pencils and stuff while I'm talking. But that pretty much covered the supplies. And now I'm gonna have everyone, we're gonna take the picture of the hippo, and one thing I covered in the last class, for those of you who weren't here to get here, is that the human eye gets used to seeing things a certain way. And once it gets used to seeing things a certain way, if you suddenly change that, it confuses your brain a little bit, but it forces you to pay more attention to what you're actually looking at. So if, like, say you fell asleep, got knocked out or whatever, you woke up in a different place, that place is unfamiliar to you, and so you're going to be cautious and really paying attention to what's going on around you, because you're like, oh, this is new. We're going to use that to our advantage. We're going to take the picture and flip it upside down. It might be a little intimidating to everybody at first, because it's going to be kind of confusing to your mind looking at the hippo upside down. But when you think about it, when we take this viewfinder and we put it over one of these little squares, and we're looking at that one square, your mind isn't going to really comprehend completely what you're looking at, because it looks like a bunch of jumbled up mess in that little viewfinder, right? So like if I put this thing right in the middle of his nose, if I just looked at that square, that doesn't make any sense to my mind. What I'm used to seeing is a hippo. I wouldn't even know it's a hippopotamus unless I knew a lot about what their nose looks like, I guess. But see, that doesn't look like much of anything. So by having it inverted and having the viewfinder, we are tricking our brain into focusing on just what is in that square. And so what our goal is with this system, having these squares on here, is we focus on each individual square and try to make it just as similar to that square on the corresponding square that's on the page that we're actually drawing on. And then by the time you work through all these squares, which seems like a bit of a daunting task, I'm sure, right now, because we're at the beginning, but once you get done with it, it is amazing. When you step back and you pull that thing off that last square and you look at it and you flip the page back right side up, you will be amazed at how much progress that makes, being able to focus in on that one thing. And I can't remember if this technique has a particular name or not, so forgive me on that, but this is something I learned back in, I think, high school or elementary school first off, and then we did it again in college. And I was telling this gentleman back here that we actually had one project in college where each student got assigned one square of a big image. And we had no idea what the image was of. It just looked like a garbled mess, like I showed you there. So we're all drawing it just as close to what it looked like, our square, as we could. And then the teacher took all of our pieces of artwork and taped them all up on the wall and put them together, and you got to see what the whole image actually looked like. It's kind of a neat deal. But in essence, what we're accomplishing by using all these grid layout on here is it's working like, since I'm used to doing this, my brain automatically will do this. I don't see squares or anything, but I am able to look at a face or whatever it might be, and I can focus in on one thing. So in essence, this is helping everybody who's not used to doing that. We're training our brains to kind of work that way and simplifying all this input that we have. This whole image, is kind of overwhelming if you're not used to trying to do that. It's too much to take in all at once. So by being able to break it down like that, it makes it a lot more simplified, and it forces us to pay attention to what we're doing. Instead of, a lot of the time, if we just had the picture and we were just drawing, people get in this habit of, they get into it, and before you know it, they quit looking at the reference. They just start looking at their paper and drawing. They forget to look, and then when they get done and they look at it, they're like, well, my drawing doesn't look anything like that. And it's because they forgot to look at the paper. They got to looking at their actual drawing, and you start drawing your mind's eye view of what you think the image looks like instead of what you're actually seeing. So this is kind of forcing a person to do that as well, not draw what they think they see, but actually focus on what's actually on that. And so we try to make all these squares, same number of squares, and roughly the same size to make it fairly easy. So when everybody's picture is upside down, all you have to do is lay it kind of next to where your work is at. And then when you lay that viewfinder on top of there, That allows you to focus on that one thing, and actually we have enough viewfinders. I'm gonna give you a second one. That way you can lay it on the corresponding square on your actual drawing paper. That way your hand doesn't, smear it or anything like that, and it'll make it a little easier to focus on it. I'm going to do one with you, that way just to kind of get everyone moving in the right direction, and I'm going to do the same square. So we'll all start off with the same square, and then after that you can do whichever squares you want with, however you please, and I'll kind of float around, and if you have any questions or need anything, then I'll be able to help you individually a little bit more one-on-one than me just standing up here trying to show you how to do it, all right? So let me grab all of you another viewfinder so you all have two. Just like I said earlier, I learned from these classes just as much as you do, and it didn't occur to me until I was speaking just then that it would be smart to have two viewfinders for everybody, so let me give all of you a second one. Throw a frisbee. Aha!
Believe me, they don't want to take it. But it's the same, but it's good.
And if any, I think I covered this last time, because I asked everybody if they were nervous, and I told them, oh, good, I am too. If you feel apprehension about this at all, that is perfectly normal. Because most of us, when we are looking at a project like this, we haven't drawn anything probably since we were kids, right? I mean, I've talked to people at work, in Walmart, wherever it might be, all the time about artwork and doing these things. And it is really difficult to get people to have enough confidence in themselves to actually try something that they haven't done in a long time, or maybe they've never done. And I bring up the point all the time, if you're 16 years old and you just got your driver's license, and then I take the vehicle away for 20 years, and then you suddenly hop back behind the wheel again, you're probably still driving like a 16-year-old, right? You're not going to be driving like you've been driving for 20 years. That would be unrealistic and unfair to expect of yourself, right? Well, same principle. If you stopped drawing when you were 5, 7 years old, whatever it might be, and then you suddenly pick it up, you're probably drawing about like a 5 or 7-year-old, and there's nothing wrong with that. That's perfectly normal, So if you feel any apprehension about this, feel a little nervous, and you're like, I don't know about this guy.
You saying that, I want to say thank you to a couple of people that really was very apprehensive about coming and thinking that they wasn't going to be able to do this. Thank you very much.
I am glad that everybody made it today, definitely on that note. It takes a lot of courage to try something that you're not used to doing, and I can guarantee you, the more you work on it, the more enjoyable it gets, and you'll find yourself doodling and drawing all the time after a while. And I think I covered it in last class too. If you really do enjoy this enough and you want to kind of continue doing it in your free time and stuff like that, which everybody can do this in their free time. If we don't get these pictures done today, we run out of time. You can take the stuff with you and you can continue to work on the squares and stuff and finish it at your leisure. But my brain just skipped out on me. I forgot. I was going somewhere with it. I'll think of it again here in a minute. Anyway, do you remember what I was thinking of?
I think you were just thinking, you're glad that they're here, that they're trying it, and that they can continue it if we don't finish here. It's something that they'll do forever.
Oh,
They're gonna like it.
I just remembered it. Last time I think I talked about how if you want to form a habit doing something, sometimes tying it to another habit will help you. So like in the morning, if you're making your pot of coffee or whatever, it might be whatever your morning routine is, and you have a habit that you do every day. Well, if you want to get into doing this, put a little sketchbook next to the coffee pot, and while the coffee pot's brewing, sit there and do a little doodle. It doesn't have to look like anything, just do a little doodle, and when the coffee's done, pick up your cup of coffee and go about the day. But by tying it to that habit you already have established, it'll help you do that. So like with this project, even if we get started and say we don't get done today, and you want to get finished so you can, show your kids, your grandkids, or whoever it might be, put it next to something you're used to doing on a regular basis, and maybe do 1 square a day. It doesn't have to be the whole thing. Work on one little bit at a time, and then put it away for the day. And eventually, I don't know how many squares are there, but I'm sure it's at least a month. If you did 1 square a day, I'm sure you could get it done in about a month. By the end of that month, you've got this thing whipped, and you, like I said, you'll be amazed at how well it progresses just by focusing on that one little spot instead of the whole thing.
88 squares.
88 squares. All right, it might take more than a month. Maybe 2 squares a day, 1 in the morning and 1 in the evening. But we'll try to knock a bunch of them out today, so I'm gonna try not to talk, like I said, too much. But, I put my reference away. Let me flip mine upside down so that it's like everybody else's. Flip it up here to my paper. Let's pick a simple one to start with. Hippopotamuses are kind of round and simple shaped, so other than the details right in the muzzle, the rest of this should be pretty easy. Let's come in 2 rows over on our bottom right, and then let's go 1, 2, 3, 4, let's say 5 squares up from that. And I'll give everybody a minute to find that, because I know all these squares get kind of confusing. So I'm going to circle it on my page so I can keep track of it. Since I'm trying to record this, I can't have a viewfinder away.
2 over, 5 up.
Yep, 2 over and 5 up.
Okay.
Yep, that looks like the right one. You've got the right one. I think you've got the right one. We're going to flip this upside down. All right. We're actually going to do it upside down. So we'll do 2 over and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that one right there. Just lay it on top, just like that. And then on your paper, do the same thing. So you come over 2 and then go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And lay your viewfinder right on top of that square, because they're the same size squares. They're all 1-inch squares. I'm going to move this cardboard out of the way for you. And that way, it makes it a lot easier. Sometimes people will even number the squares. If it gets confusing, by all means, take a light pencil and you can number these, and it'll make it easier. You can write little numbers on there, whatever, if you want to. You don't have to, but I think we're all in the same square now. Okay, so I'm going to just draw this one square on my big page up here, so hopefully you can see it. And I'll probably need to pick a lighter pencil. Actually, we can grab the same pencils you have. Actually, you know what? Let me grab the vine charcoal real quick. We're going to do a mixed media. If I can get the container, I've got it upside down. Here we go. I'm going to give all of you a stick of this. And this is, like I said, just burnt willow. You can actually see in the end grain of the sticks. It's actually got little knot holes and all kinds of stuff. It's kind of messy, but
That's why you have wipies and a
yeah.
napkin.
If anybody needs a rag or anything at any point to wipe their hands, by all means, let me know. Remember, this is very soft charcoal, and so it smears really nicely. And since that grayscale we have, and you can use a paper towel or a tortilla, probably a paper towel would be the best, I think, when we go to do this. So, yeah, it gets all over, doesn't it?
That's why they have wipies.
Yeah, you get wipies here,
Yeah.
and then paper towel. And then, okay, if you want to lift that page off of there, because we're actually drawing on this page. You gotta kind of spread out just a little bit here and slice some stuff. Yes, ma'am, just like that. That's another nice thing about that card, is it'll keep it really clean, or we're gonna get stuff all over our hands. Yeah, that one there, and then I think that one there. And that way it'll help you keep kind of homed in on that same spot. And the same thing with yours, it'll be on this page that we're actually drawing it on. So, I just slide this off, whichever side you want it to slide off to. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So put that one there. And it was that square there. And that way you're trying to draw exactly what is in this square and that square. And it's simple. See how much simpler that looks than trying to look at the whole page. So I just lost.
Looks already saving.
Huh?
Looks already saving.
Yeah,
Looks
they are.
always-
Well, a lot of artwork is almost, you're kind of like a magician because you're creating an optical illusion. All right, so in your square on your drawing paper, the white page, we're going to take our charcoal and just kind of lightly, you turn it on your side. I'll make sure I'm not blocking my video. And we're just going to make a mess out of that little square inside it.
Inside the square?
Yes, ma'am?
His whole paper is a square.
Yeah, my whole page is a square, but yeah, just take your vine charcoal. This stuff will smear a lot easier. And when you just color in the square like that, you don't have to go real dark. Oh, that's fine. It'll lift off of there partly. Kind of walk around here. Yep, just like that. Did I get, okay. It's a little messy. Charcoal's fun too because it doesn't make so much of a mess. It kind of loosens up your arms and everything. So after everybody kind of has that put in there, then paper towel go. All right. Like I say, you don't have to go real dark. You're just put a little layer on there, and then after that, does everybody have a paper towel?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah, that's plenty dark enough.
Not the wet
Plenty
one.
darker. That's the nice thing about it. It lifts off really easily because of the it being charcoal, so I wouldn't worry too much about it. So then if you take some of the paper towel, put your finger in it, you can use that one. Just paper towel, and we're gonna smudge that in there just a little bit. It kind of, yeah, you just kind of smear it around, and what we're doing, this paper towel is gonna lift a lot of that material back off the page because this charcoal is so soft. Yeah, and see, we're trying to match this value with this. So, it might, with these kneaded erasers, and I'll walk it around because I know everyone can't hear me right now. Like with these kneaded erasers, you can actually just touch it to paper and it will actually lift that charcoal back on. They're a kneaded eraser. So if it's not quite as, see, it takes it right off. So if it's not as light as what you want it to, you can, a combination of the eraser and the paper towel, lift material back off of there. And what your goal is you're trying to match the shade to what shade of gray is in that square. That lifted a lot of it. I was showing one on these kneaded erasers, you can ball them up like that. This charcoal is so soft, it'll lift right off the paper with these erasers just by touching it. And so you're a little darker right now than like what this is. You see, this is a little darker, so you can take that eraser. You see I lifted it right off of there? And you can also shift it to different spots on your paper towel because that will also take it off. And you just keep working it back and forth between the eraser and this until you get it roughly about that shade right there. A lot of this is kind of pushing and pulling material back and forth off of the page. I'll do it up on my page. While everyone's getting that, I'll kind of do it up here too so you can see. Oh, there it is. I didn't use it. I don't think mine is quite dark enough yet. Just a little bit more fine. Morning.
Morning.
Pull that one back.
Yeah, we'll do that.
No, you go take.
Just pull it.
That's fine, that's fine.
Things around.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I need to get you something to draw on. Let's see here.
Did you say that you eventually wanted to pencil down? With the
Or-
paper
Yeah.
down? And when you use it,
Oh, here we go.
when you shop it.
You got the front row seat. Huh? You got the front row
Got the
seat.
front row seat.
Well, maybe I can say some things.
Yeah, well, no. Way down there.
I don't know.
Sit
You
here,
keep playing you room.
sit here.
He's happy, see.
There you go.
Thank you.
I'll try to catch you both up here in just a second. So everybody's pretty much probably getting halfway close now to, yeah, okay.
Do you have a pen or something we could write with?
Yes. We have a reference picture we're working with. It's this baby hippo. And so we're drawing him upside down. Maybe a little tricky to work with. What we're doing is we're taking these viewfinders, and right now we're on
Looks like I'm where I'm
the
supposed to
second
be.
one over on the bottom and the fifth square up. So if you lay that viewfinder on there,
Right there.
it'll be on this side, that one right there. And I've got some clips, where they go.
Here you go.
You got 'em?
Just give them a piece of charcoal. Don't go over the pencils with them.
Okay.
Just give 'em charcoal.
I'm gonna put mine in right side.
Okay, here's some clips, the way you can put that viewfinder to that, so it doesn't move around on you. You got it?
You're both lazy.
Oh, no, you're all right. And then what we're doing is we're on the same corresponding square that's on this page with all these other squares. We're laying another viewfinder on top of that, and then,
I won't be having a different
okay.
one. Yeah, I will be here.
But that'll help you focus in on that one square. Give you each, this is gonna be a little bit messy, it's charcoal. That's that vine charcoal, it's just burnt pieces of willow. So all you have to do is, you color in that square, and then take a paper towel and smear it around, and make it all the same value of gray as what is in the square on your reference picture. And basically, we're trying to copy exactly what is in those squares on the corresponding square, and it breaks it down into smaller pieces.
You'll be unreliable.
Oh, it'll be all right. Once you get into it, it works better. Where did I put mine?
You might have gave it to them.
I might have, here we go. I think I lost my eraser. So now after we've got it all kind of gray colored. This thing pulled up here. There is a, kind of a curved line going down the middle of that square. I'm sure everybody's noticed by now. I think a few are already ahead of me, and that's fine. We'll work at whatever pace we want to. I don't think it'll ever wrap her off now. There we go. But you'll notice that line going down the middle of that square.
Yeah.
And all you've got to do is just take that charcoal and layer back in a little bit darker where that line is at, and then take your eraser, and on that highlight that you'll see right next to that line, so see how it's darker right here? Yeah, you're already working on it, looks like. there's that line and then that highlight. That's why I picked the square, because it's fairly easy. You're just going from making that darker curved line and try to put it in this, yeah.
Like that.
Yep, and then that one's obvious, a little bit darker than that, so you just lighten it up a little bit with that tortillion when you go in there and start.
Yeah.
When you can grab a little bit of that dark material and pull it away from where, you can pull that material away from where you want to slide right behind you. Yeah, I would, yeah, see how this side of that is slightly darker even than that side? So when you lay that tortilla on there, you can grab that material and kind of pull it that way, and that'll lighten up the line just a little bit, and it'll also transfer that darker material over a little bit. Yeah, see, I lined it up. It's very touchy with the charcoal, so.
Yeah.
What's the number? Is it the same one on your pencil?
And then, by the same token, this highlight that you see right here, the goal is to take your kneaded eraser and just, you can roll it into a fine point. And you can roll that into a fine point, and you can go in and start lifting that material in the same spot, and you can actually draw with the eraser in essence, because each of those little spots there, you just erase that little bit of highlight in there, and by this being, like I said, yeah. As we go, I would recommend everyone stick with these larger or the squares that have less detail in them first, just to get the hang of it, and then as you kind of work on it, work kind of in toward more detailed ones that have more stuff going on in them. Yeah, you can draw that highlight right with that eraser. You can draw with an eraser just as much as you can with a pencil.
Just get on the bottom of this one. Good, pull it up in the first one. So, and then yours can go that way, so I can do that.
I showed them over there, this is an eraser. It's kind of like silicate, but you can roll it into a sharper point if you need to erase a small area, or you can use the whole thing to block a bigger area.
Where do you get those kinds of things?
Hobby Lobby has them. Yeah, Hobby Lobby, they're called kneaded erasers. They look like a little gray rectangular brick thing.
Are they here?
Yeah, they have them here at Hobby Lobby in McAllister, and they're not too expensive really. They start off kind of squared off like that, and you just, the more you work them, the more the material warms up and it'll manipulate it easier. And when they get dirty and all dark, you just tear them up and move them around like that, it kind of cleans them out a little bit. They'll gradually get dark over time anyway, but I'll give one to you to kind of mess with. They're kind of an interesting eraser.
My working is lousy.
Oh, don't be too rough on yourself.
Yeah.
And like I was telling you before you came in, you know, most people are too hard on themselves on stuff like that. If you quit driving at 16 and then you didn't drive for 20 years and then you try to pick it back up, you wouldn't be driving at the level of a 16-year-old, right? You wouldn't be driving like you've been driving for 20 years. So most people, you know, they quit doing this kind of stuff when they're young kids, and so they're still at that level. And they may have even got a little rustier than that level because it's been forever since they've done it. So people tend to beat themselves up too much on this kind of stuff, but when you get to messing with it and it gets fun for you again, you find out that in everybody, art is kind of ingrained in us as a species. It's really a part of us. That's why children, you always see them drawing so much. They can't hardly stop from making stuff all the time.
That's because I had a baby that was a babbling. And I was 14 of it. But anyway.
I'm gonna catch up with you here real quick and make my line. I'm recording this at the same time. I told them earlier, so if it seems like I'm talking to myself, it's also because I'm talking to the camera up here. I'm trying to make a recording so anybody who didn't make it today can actually get the kind of process. I'm gonna add a little material. I lost my paper now. Here it is. And I'm just going to take this.
What if your eraser doesn't pull off enough?
If it doesn't pull off enough, okay, so You're saying that when you're
The white
blotting
spot, the white
on that
part.
highlight?
Uh-huh.
Okay, so on these erasers, something I forgot to mention. You know, you can make them into whatever shape you want, and you can blot with them, but you can also use them like a regular eraser, just by scrubbing. So if there's a spot like she's saying where maybe you're not getting enough material lifted off of there for the highlight, it's not light enough, you can actually go in there and you can physically erase like you would normally do with a pink eraser you used in school or something like that. You'll get the little eraser gummy things, you gotta blow off the page and all that. So it works both ways. You can either blot with it or kind of draw it across the page and it'll remove stuff, and you can also then actually erase with it. So they're kind of an interesting tool.
Not getting enough off.
It's not coming off too good.
I think I rubbed it in too well.
Yeah, sometimes if you bear down or put a little too much material on the page, sometimes it won't erase as well. Don't get discouraged by that, because if it doesn't lift off completely, they have white charcoal pencils that you can actually go back in and enhance your highlights. So even if you maybe got a little heavy-handed and it didn't come off quite as much, didn't erase quite as well as you wanted to, you can always go back in with one of those and color back in on your brightest spots with that, and it'll make it really pop. That contrast between the dark and the light will make it look like it's jumping off the page. So after going through this whole process, your hands will get kind of used to how hard you have to push and get used to the materials a little better. And so after it kind of acclimates, it'll be a little easier, but don't get discouraged if it doesn't come off like that, because we can add stuff to it to kind of make it work with us a little bit. A lot of my video here is going to just be audio for anybody who missed class, but that's okay. This isn't a real complex thing. It's kind of the same basic stuff we did in last class. And I'm bringing it over because this side is darker than this side. And then I take the eraser and I just come in here and try to mimic that highlight right there. I'm kind of rushing up here, so mine looks very scratchy. Everyone else's is actually looking a lot better than mine, so congratulations. You're outdoing the artist. Today we're all artists anyway, right?
Yes.
I think so.
We are.
At least we're trying.
We're all artists. Does everyone's kind of getting the idea of how this works though, right? Does anybody have any questions or anything? Well, we're kind of paused here. Okay. I don't know what time it is because my thing, do you have the time?
I took my watch off.
11:32.
11:30.